Welcome to Making Sense of the Madness. We got Dr. Mark Sherwood here today. We're going to be talking about a health issue maybe most people don't want to talk about, and a supplement a lot of people like myself actually take. Then we got Zach Payne coming in. We're going to recap the debates and also the 9/11 anniversary. Trump very cordial after the fact with Kamala embarrassed. We got all that and more. Buckle up and get ready to make sense of the madness. We are back. We are joined by Dr. Mark Sherwood. So, sent you a couple of stories today. And first, I'm going to start with glutathione. Now, number one, I don't take injections. I'm not a big fan of them. But I do take this as a supplement in the morning, every morning, usually 7 days a week, unless I forget, which usually once or twice a week, I do forget to take them. What's the deal with glutathione? First of all, what kind of concentration, even if I'm getting the highest milligram at the, the best, I'm not getting at Walmart or even GNC, but at the same, I try to go with like the 4.5 stars all across the internet, etc. I think Luma is my brand, not a lot of fancy packaging, just on the thing. First of all, what are the benefits of this? Are there negativities to it? And how far are people taking it?
Well, I think in America, for the most part, if people think there's benefit of something, they have a tendency to want to take more. More is better, and that's not the case. Glutathione is the body's chief antioxidant, Jason. It's also very important for detoxification. Our antioxidant function and our detoxification function are very significant in the ability to keep us really functioning well and even alive. Glutathione can be delivered intramuscularly being injection, subcutaneously injection, IV, and also oral. Probably from an oral standpoint, 200 to 400 milligrams would be, generally speaking, an average dose. When we take glutathione, we also need to be measuring backwards to ensure our homocysteine level in blood is good. Too much glutathione can cause that to go up, which can create more problems in other areas. It's all about balance. Glutathione is an amazing nutrient. It's produced in the body naturally, go figure, with sufficiency of B vitamins in a pathway called methylation. I know it's a little complicated, but many times because of the toxic load and because of the free radical load, detox and antioxidant systems respectively, we get those numbers pulled down. That's why glutathione is a great supplement.
Well, I also take the methylfolate. I hope I've got a decent cocktail. I try not to get too out of control. There were times back in the day I was taking everything twice. But, generally, if you're taking this orally, it shouldn't be a problem unless you're overdoing it. Can you overdo it with the other methods that you were talking about when we are talking about injections and IVs, et cetera?
You can. Too much glutathione or too much anything is never a good thing. But what happens is in that methylation cycle that you just kind of mentioned, and I did too, if it backs up on you, you get this homocysteine, which is an amino acid, elevated. You don't methylate well, meaning you can kind of get depressed. It also is a clot risk. It's a risk of brain fatigue and even cellular destruction. So, too much of any good thing is a bad thing.
So let's move on to another region of the body, if you will, the prostate. Now, I had a pretty big prostate scare during the COVID 1984 nightmare. It began in really February, right before everything went down. Nobody wanted to see me. Everybody was scared. It was a huge process to even see a doctor. And at the end of the day, a lot of people didn't. I remember going in, they wouldn't even let me see a doctor and didn't really believe I even had the chance at what was eventually prostatitis. I was worried about prostate cancer. Now, I'll say this. I never took any kind of medications whatsoever other than they put me on antibiotics kind of reluctantly. as well. At first, he wasn't going to do it, and they said, "Well, if it doesn't go away in a few weeks, maybe I'll prescribe to you." And I said, "Well, actually, I'm hitting the road next week because I need to get the hell out of New York." So he's like, "All right, I'll give them to you." And I was on these things basically all the way through my trip in the summer, which was July. I didn't really see any kind of difference. Eventually, about 2 months down the line, we got into fall. Every symptom was gone, just the whole entire thing. Now,
Yeah.
I think some of that may have had to do with COVID, et cetera. But certainly, I started looking at supplementation, right? And I was already supplementing myself. I'd read things about vitamin D3. I still take that
Mhm.
supplement. I take a pretty high dose of saw palmetto, which also gets demonized by mainstream medical science. I think I might even be at the 3,800 milligram mark. I think that's the
Mhm.
biggest one that they sell right there. What are your thoughts when it? First of all, I would assume there's a variety of reasons that you could have an enlarged prostate or
Mhm.
problems there. But when we are talking about regular supplementation, as opposed to what you usually get prescribed from a medical professional or expert, what are we talking about?
Well, when you look at prostate, let's understand what the PSA is actually measuring. This is what it means. So the PSA, prostatic specific antigen, comes from, it's squeezed out of the prostate. So when we measure that in a lab, if PSA goes up, we're inferring that the prostate got bigger. Bigger prostate, more PSA. If people are interested in PSA, there's a great book that I'll recommend out there. It's called The Great Prostate Hoax. I didn't write it, but it was written by the inventor of the PSA test. With that said, the prostate gland, which sits between the scrotum and the anus, the ureter runs right through there. There's multiple reasons it can get swollen up. You mentioned one, prostatitis, itis meaning inflammation, just a simple infection of the gland, and an antibiotic treatment is the win right there. The prostate gland can get elevated because of age. That would be benign prostate hypertrophy or growth. It can also get elevated because of sex. It can get elevated because you ride a bike with a narrow seat. You don't have enough padding there. And it could get elevated if there's a tumor there. It is wisdom to not freak out if you have an elevated PSA. If you do have an elevated PSA and you get to a urologist, you certainly, in my opinion, want to ask for an MRI first before having a biopsy. Because if you poke a hole in something and you hit what you might not want to hit, it just makes sense that that thing you hit might spread. So I think a little bit of wisdom is good here in that area.
So, what about the supplementation? Do you recommend people take things like D3, saw palmetto?
Mhm.
I've also had people say that you also have to counterbalance that with things like liver cleanse, etc.
Yeah, we do the D3. I have not seen that cause any sort of toxicity until people have taken 25, 30,000 international units per day. We recommend at a minimum 5,000 international units per day. We want to have vitamin K2 in it, by the way, which helps the calcium that's absorbed by the D get pushed to your bones instead of your arteries, which is a key point. So everybody takes vitamin D that works with us. And then as far as saw palmetto goes, we've used that a lot. I use probably up to 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 milligrams, or as you stated, you're 3,800. A lot of times it works outstanding to sort of keep the prostate down a little bit. Eating well, just paying attention to all the stuff I talked about will help the prostate not be as inflamed as well. Think about, anti-inflammatory foods versus inflammatory foods. All of those things are great. I do believe the prostate test is overused, overinterpreted, my opinion only. I think people need to research that. I've given some good resources here, and I highly encourage people to look into that.
Dr. Mark Sherwood, a pleasure as always. Let everybody know where they can find you and support your work, sir.
Well, Sherwood.tv, of course, is our main hub, Jason, and I always appreciate as well people going there. There's free stuff, there's blogs, there's our movies, TV shows that can connect and work with us at the clinic. Our TV show is right here on Patriot TV on Saturdays and Sundays, and lots of cool stuff like this. My wife, my queen, talk about all the time, and just appreciate the gift that you are to this network and what you're doing. So thanks for having us on as always.
A pleasure, sir. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to hit the news with Zach Payne. You're not going to want to miss it. More Making Sense of the Madness after this.
The world is about to shift. Banks are going cashless globally with the emergence of central bank digital currency, which will bring with it programmable money and the ability to turn on or off your purchasing power based on your digital social profile. It's like the equivalent of spyware in your bank account. You need to get out of the system with the world's safest and most precious assets, silver and gold. Call Kirk Elliott Precious Metals at 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900.
Don't let them win. Patriot TV is committed to delivering the truth. America's new network for patriots is growing fast, and we'd love you to join us as a member of Patriot TV. Your support makes it possible for us to continue to deliver unbiased reporting, thought-provoking discussions, and insights you won't find anywhere else. From in-depth interviews to behind-the-scenes footage, Patriot TV brings you closer to the voices shaping our nation's future. Whether it's political developments, cultural shifts, or global affairs, Patriot TV keeps you informed and empowered. As a member of Patriot TV, you'll get perks like personal invitations to exclusive Patriot TV events, where you can gather and network with like-minded Americans. We'll also host online events throughout the year with General Flynn, who's committed to host live Q&A webinars where callers like you can ask him questions and get real answers. Access to these events will be members only, so go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. We have a great membership option starting at just $9.99 a month, or save with our annual membership for only $99, or take advantage of the best value, the 2-year membership for just $159. Go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member. It's fast and easy. Do your part to make sure the truth gets out to all patriots and help ensure future programming. Become a member today. Just go to patriot.tv, click on Become a Member, join today.
We are back. We are joined by Zach Payne. Zach, a pleasure as always. Let's get into it. Andrew Capo Cuomo has his day on Capitol Hill, where he actually gets confronted about being what I would call a serial killer. Now, I don't expect any kind of criminal charges, and unfortunately, when you see how he was worked out of New York and he's trying to be worked back in to the Democratic Party, I fear that he's actually going to win these lawsuits against the people that brought the grab ass and the sexual harassment suits against him. Like, there's a countersuit going there. I'll admit, I have not watched this 2-hour plus event on the Hill. A lot going on yesterday. I'm on the air 3-4 hours a day sometimes. Obviously, we just had the 9/11 anniversary. A lot going on. I am going to get to it. But at the end of the day, number one, I'm glad this happened. But who's going to get prosecuted? Who's going to jail? There's a lot of dead people. There's also a lot of permanently injured people. So all of that is extremely concerning to me in this regard.
Well, I think you're right to be concerned about that. And you're also probably right that nothing is going to come of the various sexual abuse lawsuits that he's facing right now. But I'm not so certain he's going to escape ultimate accountability for the decisions that he made during the pandemic. Now, prior to this hearing taking place yesterday, there was a report that was compiled by the same subcommittee and was released the day before. Now, the findings of that report conclusively state Andrew Cuomo is responsible for the deaths that occurred in the state of New York because of his decision to force nursing homes to take in sick people and essentially put old, infirmed, and already ill elderly residents into a situation where they would likely die. Now, even more than that, the state of New York, under Andrew Cuomo, specifically and explicitly sought to cover up, obfuscate, and hide the number of people that were dying. They sought to cover up the actions that led to those deaths. And to this day, Governor Kathy Hochul and the state of New York are still refusing to comply with subpoenas that the various committees that are investigating this could use to determine ultimately even how many people died at the end of the day. So ultimately, there is a cover up. There has been a cover up for quite some time. Andrew Cuomo was the ultimate arbiter of who would die in that situation. And under President Trump, an investigation began at the DOJ. And then under Joe Biden, it was quietly shuffled away. Now, if all goes to plan, President Trump will be returning to the White House sometime early next year. And there's nothing that says Andrew Cuomo can't once again be investigated for criminal responsibility related to those deaths.
You know, I would love to believe that, yeah, maybe we get to the investigation level, but the accountability level, I want to remind everybody, because so many people out there want to act like the COVID 1984 nightmare never happened, that nobody made you do anything. They were portraying this guy as America's governor. Remember, there was a lot of chatter, a little chitter chatter, that he was actually going to be the nominee and run against Trump during the COVID 1984 nightmare. Let's not forget, they allowed this man to write a best-selling book. Now, number one, if you think that he wrote any books, I don't know what to tell you. That's absolutely ludicrous. Bestseller, though. Bestseller. And then they gave the man an Emmy Award for his you can't make it up, which he accepted on television, okay, for his daily briefings. This guy, and I want people to realize this, New York is a special state, just like California is a special state, et cetera, just globally. We're not just in this country, and the perception that goes around it. They sold you on this guy like you cannot even imagine, and allowed him to commit democide on another level. I want to remind people, when we're talking about that national level, he was the first American politician to use the term build back better in this country, all the way back, I believe it was April 14th through the 24th. But we're talking well before the hate, and before the public realized the only way out was to inject yourself multiple times with a hate and lie shot while masking for the rest of your life. Oh, Jason, the masks are gone. Bah, 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 bah. Not on the really mentally ill. I see them every day. On the severely mentally ill, I see them every day. I don't want people to forget this, because he's speaking at the DNC, right? He's up there. His brother's got a gig with Dan Abrams and Law and Crime. F these people, man. I'm so done with it. Like, seriously. And you know what? That's going to bring us to our next story, right? Zach, as you know, I cut my teeth in 9/11. And we just had the 23rd anniversary. I don't think any real accountability as to what happened there. And you got everybody down the line, Nick, because it's an election year, right? And I don't know if you've seen the video yet, but Donald Trump steps in, shakes Kamala Harris's hand. Remember, this is hot off this less than 24 hours since they debated. And he's got to stand next to Chuck Schumer. Like Bloomberg, I get, right? Like, him and Bloomberg have a long and storied relationship. I doubt Michael Bloomberg at any point was in on any of the Trump coup stuff. But, he's got to sit there. Joe Biden, he didn't even acknowledge him. I mean, not that Joe Biden's at his best. Or Chuck Schumer. I mean, these people are literally people that have compared him continuously to Hitler. I mean, first of all, if you call me a bigot, and I know you, and we're in like a personal situation, things might get a little heated. I'm just saying. I might use some words I shouldn't. I'd hate for it to get to a physical altercation. If, even on the peripheral, you are in large part one of the reasons not only I may end up in prison, but I almost just got my head blown off, things might go down, Zach. So when you see things, here's the problem. When I see things like this also feeds into the crowd that's like, everything's staged, right? Trump didn't even get shot at, and all these other things, because it is so much like WWF wrestling. Like, and to say the guy has been measured, he briefly brought up the assassination attempt, and we're going to get into that in the debates. So what are your overall thoughts? Obviously, we're in weirdo world, but I mean, 9/11, New York City. I don't think Biden went last year. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no.
obviously, it's an election year. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I think ultimately it speaks to Donald Trump's demeanor and his ability to remain measured, calm, but also turn it on when he needs to. I mean, he has been an actor for many, many years. And I think that he knows exactly how he needs to behave in situations when it's appropriate. I mean, the mainstream media and the left, they would have you believe that Donald Trump is some sort of maniac. He's unable to control himself. But the truth is, I mean, he knows exactly how to control himself. I mean, this would have been an inappropriate venue for Donald Trump to confront any of these people with the things they've said about him, or the fact that they may have had some warning about him almost getting assassinated. All of that stuff. I mean, Donald Trump is a New Yorker. All right. I mean, he went to ground zero immediately in the aftermath of what happened that day. I didn't see Joe Biden showing up. I don't even know if Chuck Schumer showed up. Michael Bloomberg, obviously, he was looking to foster his political career. But Kamala Harris wasn't there. Donald Trump was there with the people on the ground. He gave back. He helped clean up. He offered any assistance that he could. And so him being there, I mean, it's about that, right? It's about the sacrifice of the people who died needlessly on that day. And so Donald Trump has a tremendous amount of restraint. I absolutely understand what you're saying. I mean, somebody says that kind of stuff about me and they say it over and over and over again, that might get to you. But I also think that Donald Trump has learned to allow that stuff to just, roll off his back at this point. I mean, it's another day. It's a Monday in this crazy election season. They call him a fascist, or they say that he wants to get rid of the Constitution, or they say that he's a threat to democracy. How is that any different from Sunday?
It's not much different, but again,
No.
when you're standing up on a stage and talking about how he's a convicted felon, he's been an adjudicated sexual assault person, you've got the media sitting there constantly correcting him when he brings up they won't. Here's the weird thing, and I'm going to bring this up about the debate. There were several instances. Like, remember they used to say, if you said you saw something on the internet, it wasn't true. Oh, you saw it on the internet. This time, in regards to the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, eating pets, he goes, I saw it on the television. And so, in other words, he's talking about the local news reports of this actually happening. Now, I've seen these.
Me too.
And the guy goes, we're not talking about television. I couldn't believe it, but it was this new moment where now television is the new internet. We talked to the officials, and the officials have told us there are no credible reports of this happening. So now you can have news reports on television, local. It's no law. If the official narrative set by the official they contacted said that there's no, notice they didn't say that it didn't happen, by the way. It's always this Bernaysian language massage where there are no credible reports. Oh, I guess the local news is no longer a credible report with their anchors and the law enforcement there and the cameras and the people that are like, you killed my pet and the dead pet.
Exactly. I mean, there is ample evidence. There are more than a few anecdotal stories of this very stuff happening. Okay. I mean, I'm sure you probably saw several hours of testimony from local residents talking to the city council. I mean, enumerating all of these things specifically. I mean, talking about the decline that they're witnessing in their own neighborhoods. Haitian migrants coming in and killing geese. I mean, it's not like it's goose hunting season. They're just killing these animals out in the wild when they can. Or dressing cats and dogs hanging from a tree in their front yard. I mean, did you know, Jason, that Haitians have a rich and storied history of eating cats? This is historical, and it's something that you can verify yourself. After slavery ended in Haiti, These former slaves had to run up to the hills into the mountains, and there were a lot of wild cats that were living there. And so they had to hunt them and eat them to survive. And now that tradition has actually carried on throughout the years, and cats are considered a delicacy. To each his own, but get your hands off of my cat. And certainly when you come to the United States of America, you should at the very least be attempting to integrate into the fabric of society. But that's not happening. It hasn't been even attempted in many years. And that's the secret of why they're doing it, because they don't want this country to remain anything like what it's been for the last nearly 250 years. They want to turn the United States of America into a third world. How do you do that? Pretty easily when you import third world people without any sort of onboarding process, teaching them how the laws work, what local regulations, what might be appropriate. I mean, the Haitians don't keep cats as pets. They keep them in the same way a Puerto Rican might keep a chicken, or the way that somebody might keep a goat in their backyard. This is a livestock, all right? And this is really happening. There are numerous accounts of this taking place, and David Muir is a shill. The fact that he would use that same old trope, there's no credible accounts. There's no evidence to suggest that actually happened, except for the testimony of the people whose cat was eaten. Give me a break.
And by the way, you have that one gentleman that got up there talking about the ducks, talking about the traffic. And he's like, look, I don't blame these people. This is what they know. Well, why is nobody doing anything about it? He's like, why, if they're being shipped in here, are we not addressing it whatsoever and being like, hey, you can't do this? Because that's the other aspect of this. We're not only are we not enforcing laws on the border, we have now made it damn near impossible to enforce laws that we used to enforce on the American public, and in many cases still do, on people that are in this process of basically coming over here, no longer being able to be called illegal immigrants, but have migrant status.
These are newcomers, Jason. For people like you and me, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You break the law, you pay the price. Okay, but for these people, they're not even attempting to inform them of what laws may exist, let alone cultural norms or mores. They're just allowing people to come in willy-nilly and act in whatever way they would if they were living in a Haitian slum, trying not to be killed by warlords. I understand. This is a real problem. You've got third world people coming into a first world nation. You're not teaching them how to integrate into that country, and nobody is giving them any direction. So what are they going to do? They're going to do what's natural. They're just going to continue to act in the way that they did. We see it all over the country. People wonder why our cities are in decline. It's because they're being overrun with people who are coming from terrible situations, finding themselves in, a pretty bad situation, but better than what it was before. But only now there's nobody there to instruct them on how they're supposed to act or even what laws they should be following. It's disgusting.
We are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to shift a bit of gears over into space. And we're not going to talk Space Force. Don't worry. We may get into the Muskernuts. You're not going to want to miss it. More Making Sense of the Madness after this.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Former national Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleaded guilty today to lying to the FBI.
He was one of the most respected generals in the military.
Every American needs this historical DVD keepsake. Flynn delivered the truth, whatever the cost. Hand signed by General Michael Flynn. Order now at the Patriot TV store. Use promo code PTV at checkout to get special savings. The Patriot TV store, a secure, hassle-free shopping experience.
And we are back. We are joined by Zach Payne. Now, Zach, before we get to the story at hand, Elon Musk on retweeting Doge accounts and basically anything that worships SpaceX and gives you the idea that you're going to the moon or you're going to Mars. He loves to play that game. Now, in reality, they are saying that they are doing their largest spacewalk very, very shortly with one of Elon's Dragon rockets. And we're going to get into that length in a minute because it was this post that really, really bothered me. Okay. So Elon is endorsing the idea that in 2 years, we are sending rockets to Mars and we're landing them there. That's a pretty big deal. If the landing of whatever, if these aren't reusable rockets, they're not coming back. We're doing the landing sauce. But if that goes well, then in 4 years, we're sending humans to Mars. Now, this is where the math is a little fuzzy for me. Okay. I wanted to look up this is how I found this article that we're doing this spacewalk. How far that human beings, the Russians specifically, that were kicking our Butowski all over the place, right, Zach? During the Apollo or pre-Apollo days where they had what is it? The guy's name is killing me. It's
Yuri Gagarin.
Yes, yes. He's the first spacewalk guy, right? So eventually, the Soviets, first manned mission, spacewalk, multi-mission, woman in space, all that stuff, they beat us. The highest they had ever gotten was just under 300 miles from the planet on a spacewalk. Now, human beings, Apollo, post-Apollo, the largest is 400 miles. Now, this spacewalk, if it's real, it's not even going to get to 1,000 miles. It's going to get right under 900, which to me, that's actually kind of a big deal because we're talking about, again, a time period that's 50, 60 years old when we've supposedly done it. Now, it should be documented as they do it. The moon, depending, is 237,000 to 250,000 miles away. Now, I want that to sink into people. They already told us Artemis was supposed to take off this year with human beings, pushed it back because we're going to the moon. They did say last year that they did send an unmanned rocket to the moon and around, much like the manned Gemini mission on Christmas Eve, where they read a hymn from the Bible live from the moon as they passed it. You're talking, they sent Snoopy this time, by the way. So this time around in the rocket, not human beings, they had a stuffed Snoopy doll. I know it sounds ludicrous. That is 250 plus times and back. So close to 500 times the actual travel of what this spacewalk is. That's the moon. Mars is about 38 lunars away, folks. What are your thoughts on this? Because to me, this stuff is cartoon. We're talking about maybe reality with a spacewalk of 1,000 miles, right? And then they just tell you, oh, we can do it way better.
I mean, I think we've been waiting a decade for the Tesla Roadster, haven't we? I mean, like, Elon has a habit of overpromising and under-delivering. He is a business owner. He's a marketing guy, right? I mean, he's trying to keep people's interest in this stuff. I don't doubt that, the spacewalk will probably be real. I mean, SpaceX seems to be having a lot more success than certainly Boeing does right now. And Boeing has been like the gold standard of aviation in America for, I don't know, a long time, a very long
Well,
time.
let me jump in there because I
Go
think that's another great point. Okay. Forget about all the issues of human beings in space for a long period of time, which I highlighted from Scott Kelly coming back, basically on a stretcher afterwards and not even be able to walk and all these other things. Once you get off there, you're so atrophied, all these other, you got to learn a lot of different things. You've been up there a long time. When you, I mean, again, this stuff is just so damn ludicrous. You can't get to the ISS right now until maybe February. So again, we're talking, and think about that's how on tap we are with the space program.
Right.
They'll be lucky if it's February. Yeah, and what the ISS I think is only a couple hundred miles in the air. Again, we're talking about this. It's not even that far away because of people don't understand how it works. And I know that people are like, the space is fake and gay, and the Earth is flat. We live on a turtle. But the truth of the matter is, when we're talking about these things, the Earth has to be in a certain place. The wind has to be a certain degree. The weather has to be almost perfect. And in a lot of these cases, it is circling the Earth in a rotation to its peak. So, I mean, there's reality that goes into this, but they sell us on a Matt Damon movie, bro. It's The Martian.
Yeah. Absolutely. I am certainly much more skeptical about the idea of going to Mars in 2 years. I mean, they haven't really given us anything to indicate that that's possible with their current level of technology. Who knows? Maybe they're going to announce that they have something that is far more advanced than we know. If they do that, then I would believe it a lot more. But given the sort of traditional rocket technology that we have right now, I mean, people would be in space for a very long time if they're going to Mars. And if they did come back, you're right. I mean, their muscles would be completely atrophied. I mean, they send them with treadmills and stuff now. But I mean, even if you're running and moving your body and your muscles, I mean, there's no resistance on anything. So there's nothing to really give you the feeling of your body working. So I don't know. I don't really know what to say other than perhaps, Elon is trying to get as rich as possible. I hear he's going to be the first trillionaire soon, and this might have something to do with it. That's a lot of government contracts, whether it's successful or not.
Nah, it's all X, bro. It's X. He's making all that cheese off of X. Exactly. It's cartoon level. It is. I mean, when you look at all of this stuff in space, we're weaponized in space. One of the things that you didn't talk about is how do you get these people off of Mars, right? Now, if you believe the lunar stories and the Apollo missions, they had to keep their person in lunar orbit, which they just magically knew how to do. No questions asked. You know what I mean? And then, with just a little burst, we've all seen the videos, get the space to come up into that orbit to dock away. And then in the vacuum of space in that orbit, use some type of rocket propulsion system, not on a spaceship anymore, not on the rocket that you saw launch, on a little tiny thing called a LEM, and scoot you right back 250,000 miles to Earth. And you've got to do that 38 times longer for Mars, where we've never been, don't know the atmosphere, obviously don't know what orbit would be like. I mean, I have representatives of NASA, and I actually played this on my other show. Obviously, Dennis Bushnell, the chief scientist, but also another individual, Clifford, I forget what his name is, still high level, 2016. And by the way, both interviews come from around 2016. They openly admit we're not sending humans to Mars, and that the first things that we're going to send to Mars are robots, probably nanobots, that will then take the landscape, project that back via information, and then we can virtually visit Mars anytime we like. Speaking of virtual, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if we do send some people there, how are they going to live? I mean, they just show up with the rocket and then they hang out on the surface. I mean, there's no material, there's no manufacturing infrastructure. I mean, they're going to have to construct an airtight vessel for them to live in on the surface of this planet that, yes, we've never really been to. The Mars lander has been there taking pictures for a long time, but I mean, what do we have there? Really, it's rocks and dust.
Well, even if you had, first of all, it's a planet, right?
Mm.
So the idea again, you're just going to drop any kind of supply wherever you want. They're
Right.
pontificating through the nanobots that the nanobots, when they get to the biomimetic level, they're going to actually build things via 3D printers and self-replicate some kind of wonderverse for us. Who knows what they're going to sell the public on? I think most of it will be virtual. We can no longer really trust our eyes and ears when it comes to these things. And we certainly cannot trust these agencies, just like we can't trust Hollyweird. Now,
Mhm.
I watched that Fly Me to the Moon movie. It sucked me in, the one where they're supposedly
Oh.
faking the moon landing. Awful. I mean,
Is it?
really bad, folks. Oh, it's not good. It is very hard to watch. Honestly, it's even like a third-rate date movie. If you want to bore the wife to sleep and watch something else soon, you'd put this on. Awful. But I don't want to ruin anything, but let's just say more than apologetic to the government and very in line with the official narrative, even though it's trying to play it up as something else.
Mhm.
When we talk about Hollyweird and official narratives, we've got Taylor Swift. And I'm not a Swiftie, and I'm not a Travis Kelce guy. But boy, I can't watch a video on the internet or turn on a television or a screen without seeing one of them somewhere doing something. And now, almost 2 weeks ago, you had this alleged full scope media contract hit the web, hit Reddit in particular, in which it was a contracted relationship between the two. And they even had the date of when the relationship would end and how it would end in it. Now, immediately, Kels lawyered up and his lawyers got involved. Everybody denied everything. And now Full Scope is saying everything has been fabricated. Now, here's me putting my tinfoil hat on, everybody. Are you ready? I don't know if I believe the public relations management firm Full Scope Media. Putting it out there.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way, Jason. I mean, this is not, I know that the last time somebody leaked a fake contract about my fake relationship, the first thing that I did was go and lawyer up too, because obviously I need representation to defend myself with something that's indefensible. It's ridiculous. And I tend to believe that this was a real contract. I mean, it went like wildfire. The people, both parties, they responded just as you would expect them to if something of this magnitude was released. I mean, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift has always been, in my mind, a psychological operation designed to bring new viewers into the NFL, designed to bring people over to Pfizer and get your jabs. And then, of course, designed to push voters into the arms of Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. I mean, the CIA is not generally in the habit of commenting on potential psychological operations, but for some reason, they felt the need to comment on Taylor Swift. I feel like that's a pretty big tell. Whole
Look,
thing's fake.
all I know is if you've seen the latest pictures of them as a couple, they got that guy in an outfit that you better be paying me millions and millions of dollars. I mean, it's got the suspenders, the matching hat. Like, look, all I'm saying is it's been great for both their careers, right? Like, it's one of those things where you can't. I'm talking about it. I hate talking about Hollyweird. It seems extremely manufactured. I see the relationship she has with her head PR gal. All I'm saying is there might be a little bit more going on there than people would like to admit. Might not be in line with the kind of songs that she sings. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't really know. And I'm not on the inside. But I'll tell you what, Hollyweird and the vast majority of what you see come out of there and even politics It's about as real as a $3 bill, baby. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to wrap it up talking about the assassination attempt on Trump and beyond. You're not going to want to miss it. Final segment of Making Sense of the Madness after this.
Attention business owners, are you ready to advertise to millions of loyal patriots ready to buy your products or services? Here is your golden chance to advertise with Jason Burmis and connect with his massive audience on Patriot TV and his incredibly loyal social media followers. As an advertiser on Making Sense of the Madness, you also reach his followers on the top social media sites. As Jason dives into complex current events and conspiracies, offering investigative analysis and thought-provoking discussions to uncover the deeper truths behind the headlines. When you advertise with Jason on Making Sense of the Madness, you're aligning your brand with integrity, loyalty, and a dedication to truth. Jason's audience is passionate, conservative, and committed to the values your business stands for. When given the choice, Jason's followers will buy your products or services over other woke companies. Don't miss this opportunity to elevate your brand with the power of Patriot TV. Reach out to us today at advertise@patriot.tv.
What if this happened to you when you're alone? Or what if it happened here? With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new CareWatch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. The CareWatch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. Don't wait. Call us to get your CareWatch right now. Operators are standing by.
And we are back. We are joined by Zach Payne. Zach, Jeffrey Sachs, who's been on my radar for a very long time because initially a clip of him went viral on Scarborough talking about the Central Intelligence Agency and Operation Timber Sycamore and what was happening in Syria and how we were to blame there. Well, Sachs, over the years, has gotten more and more recognition, especially within the alternative media. He is a guy that speaks to the UN, certainly comes at it from a leftist perspective, but was recently on Tucker Carlson, really made a great point. These people smugly sit up there and smirk at you as they lie to you, and some of the most important incidents are basically memory hold by the media in almost real time. So I know you watched this clip. What'd you think?
Well, I mean, he's dead on. And the thing about this is that since he's a figure of note, I mean, you mentioned, I mean, he's got some credibility. For him to come out and talk about the subjects that he does, I mean, it's a revelation, and obviously it really upsets the globalists and the people who would like to put a muzzle on him. But he's absolutely right. I mean, the government is pretty bold-faced in the way that they manipulate the public, and the media is complicit in covering up the most important stories that you could potentially use to reveal the way the world works to people. I mean, Donald Trump last night during the debate brought up the attempted assassination, and they just glazed on by. They acted like he didn't say anything at all. I mean, I think that it is probably the most believable potential conspiracy theory to think that the same people who have been trying to destroy President Trump since the moment that he walked down that escalator were also complicit in the attempted assassination on him in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th. I mean, you just take a look at the way the FBI behaved when they washed up the crime scene, no bother to preserve evidence or anything like that. When it comes to the would-be assassin's body, They just cremated him so nobody else could do an investigation. They lied to us about the shots or where the shots were coming from. They won't tell us anything about the kid Crooks. I mean, there's just too much weird stuff about him. And then you've got the actions of the Secret Service. I mean, how could you not think that the government had something to do with this? I mean, it's the most logical conclusion you could come to.
It's more than logical. And the fact that the moderators didn't even make it an issue. Can you imagine if a shot was fired at a Democratic event? I'm not even talking about Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. I'm talking about a Schumer event, and it killed somebody, anything, and it killed a supporter of that would have been a top priority to go over in that debate via a question, and they didn't even do it. Look, I'll be honest. The debate was pretty unimpressive for me in most cases. I thought Kamala Harris actually did well for being Kamala Harris. She didn't cackle. She didn't laugh. There was barely a smile up there. That must have taken a lot of restraint. In fact, that's probably why she hadn't been out on the road, other than they want to keep her away from the media to drill it down. Bitch, you keep that laughter inside. That being said, finally, Melania Trump has come out and questioned the assassination attempt of her husband. Now, again, getting into the memory hole stuff. Initially, I was just looking for that video, and Melania Trump, it's in the foreign media. In fact, you have this star from, we're getting Holly Weirdo Day from the Divergent film, who reposted it or whatever and gets backlash for it. Zach, this was the wife of the president of the United States taking 20 seconds to be like, hey, my husband got shot in the face and no one seems to care. Can we figure out what actually happened? Because there's more to the story. I mean, literally 2 sentences. And she's getting demonized for posting that. And our media, where is that being played? You're not seeing it on CNN or ABC or CBS. Yeah, you'll see it on Fox. But again, this is the wife of the president being like, why aren't you investigating why my husband got shot in the face?
Because that investigation would lead to the people that I alluded to earlier. They do not want the American people paying attention to this or even thinking about it. Now, if Donald Trump had been assassinated, then it would be talked about everywhere, and they would be playing that video for us over and over again, trying to instill some national mass trauma PTSD event, just as they did on 9/11. They would want us to see that, but because they were unsuccessful, they want us to memory hole it. They don't want us to think about it. And in terms of the left giving any sort of grief to Shailene Woodley, I think her name is, whoever she is from Divergent, I mean, they wanted Donald Trump to die. I mean, to your point, if this had been anybody on the left, then that would be the only thing they would be talking about. They would probably immediately clamp down on our civil liberties. We would have gone into martial law, lockdown, mandatory gun confiscations for anybody who voted for Donald Trump. Plenty of social media accounts getting banned, maybe even whole platforms being shut down. And it would be the only thing that you would hear about. But of course, because it's Donald Trump and they want him to die, they don't want to talk about it anymore. I mean, the media are the same people who came up with the conspiracy theory right after the attempted assassination that Donald Trump wasn't even necessarily hit by a bullet. Anybody who knows anything about guns, okay, anybody who knows anything about that stuff is going to know that what happened to him was a once-in-a-lifetime shot, okay? If he would have moved his head just ever so slightly, he wouldn't be here today. So the danger that he was placed in, the severity of that danger. How can anybody think that a professional sniper of any repute would be able to make that shot in the midst of Donald Trump moving around? I mean, he almost took a bullet, and yet he's still out here. He's still campaigning. He's still working for the American people, and they find that to be repugnant. They want to control us. They want to control the narrative. They want to stop Donald Trump from stopping them. And so they're going to go with the same tired old tropes that they always have, including the fine people hoax, the Charlottesville fine people hoax. I can't even believe Kamala Harris. Maybe I can.
I mean, they went with all the greatest hits. That's the question. Final couple minutes of the broadcast. Is there another debate after this?
Well, funny you should say. First of all, last night it wasn't simply a debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. The reason they have kept her out of the limelight is so that she could show up, she could try to make Trump angry, have him rocking back on his heels, and then have that be the only thing that the media could talk about. And that's exactly what they did. This was a debate between Trump, Kamala Harris, and the two shills working for ABC. She lied maybe dozens of times, okay? Things that should have been fact-checked in the moment. They never fact-checked her once. Even things that Joe Biden was fact-checked for in the first debate, they just completely glazed on by because it doesn't matter to them what the truth is. What matters to them is the lies that they try to pin on Donald Trump. And by the end of this debate, first of all, going into it, Kamala Harris almost didn't even do it. But after the performance we got last night, as soon as the debate closed, she and her team were demanding another debate with Donald Trump. Okay. And he was playing coy in the minutes afterwards, the hours afterwards. But a little bit later on last night, he and his team have agreed to another debate. This one is going to be at Fox News. And the style and the form of it is going to be different than what we saw last night. Undoubtedly, there will be real-time fact-checking taking place. I would certainly hope that whoever the moderators are not going to be working on behalf of Kamala Harris. And I think that the performance you're going to see is going to be very different. I think Kamala Harris is walking into a trap. Okay, right now, she's filled with hubris. She's filled with pride. She believes that she put Donald Trump on his ass last night. But in all reality,
Zach, yeah. I don't think that happened. The media is trying to say it happened. We have run out of time. I'd like to see if they're going to debate. How about an actual audience? All right, how about that? Let's get it more human. But you're right. It's not just Trump versus embarrass. It's against the system. Folks, you know the drill. It's not about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. Love you guys. See you on the flip.